Since October 2023, it appears that the carnage and the destruction of Gaza may be coming to an end. I'm saying may because so far in this 15 months of this destruction campaign or destructive campaign, we have seen, we can tell the players and where they stand, right? So right now, the Donald Trump has been able to secure a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. But if we know what has been going on, right? Because there have been several times that a ceasefire has been agreed in Lebanon, but Netanyahu and his government went around to break that. So we hope that this ceasefire stays. But let's not forget that there is a possibility that the way Netanyahu and his government have been breaking other ceasefire agreements, they might break this one. But there has been no ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel up until now, and Donald Trump did it. Now, this ceasefire agreement is in three phases, if I'm not, it's in several phases. Now, the first phase is going to see the release of prisoners, hostages. It's going to see the release of hostages both from Israel and also from the Hamas side. And then it's also going to last, is it 45 days? It's going to last 45 days. But the main thing I want to discuss, which is from Africa's perspective, is that of the Philadelphia corridor. Now, back in the 1970s, when we had the Camp David Accords between Israel and Egypt, where Egypt said we're going to recognize and have relationships with the state of Israel, when we got the Camp David Accords, one of the things that had to happen was Israel had to let go of the Philadelphia corridor, right? It let go of that as a goodwill gesture because Egypt is in control of that border, the border between Gaza and Egypt. But the funny thing happened. Once this whole thing broke out, this recent destruction of Gaza broke out, Netanyahu back in April, they took control of the Philadelphia corridor. I discussed it on this show. Now, when they took control of the Philadelphia corridor, Netanyahu said, and I'm paraphrasing, that Israel needs it for its protection, for its security guarantees, because weapons flow from there into Gaza for Hamas, and Hamas continues to wreak havoc and destruction of Israel, all of that. So Israel took control of this corridor and it said it was never going to let it go. Now, we've been seeing up until now that there's been so-called negotiations between the Biden administration, Anthony Blinken, Israel, Qatar, and all of this to bring about a ceasefire, but nothing happened until now. So apparently, Donald Trump sent his Middle East envoy, is it Steve Witkoff? Yeah, I think that's his name. Sent him to broker a peace, and he brokered the peace. I don't want to get into the details, but you can read the details. I saw the details about it in Harvest. Harvest is an Israeli publication, so you can see the details about it then. Well, the funny thing is, when this whole negotiations was going on, Egypt specifically put in this ceasefire that has just been signed. Now, this ceasefire agreement, specifically put in it that Israel would have to leave the Philadelphia corridor. Now, that is where it comes to in the second part of the ceasefire agreement. That is when Israel will begin to remove its troops from certain areas of Gaza, including this Philadelphia corridor. The funny thing is, before I get into another thing I want to mention, the funny thing is, now a lot of people have been saying, what did Donald Trump give Israel for Netanyahu to say, okay, fine, let's end the war, blah blah blah. I think the most important thing is to say, for the first time in 15 months, the people of Gaza can breathe. Because I don't think we yet understand the depth, the gravity of what Israel has done in Gaza and done to the Palestinians. Because it's not just, yeah, most Gaza is receiving the heavy brunt of the force, but we're also seeing Israel do things in the West Bank. People have been saying, oh, they are going to go to war with Trump is going to go to war with Iran to pacify Israel. We are saying they may annex the West Bank, or they may they may have Saudi Arabia recognize the state of Israel and have relationships with Israel and all of that. But whatever may happen, but I'm just saying for now, the most important thing is that the people of Gaza can breathe. Imagine having this military campaign that has lasted for 15 months. And in this 15 months, the overwhelming number of people killed are children. The number of dead children I have seen in Gaza, I've not seen it before. To the extent that the International Criminal Court is saying that there is a likelihood that what is going on in Gaza is a genocide. That is why South Africa's case, they're hearing it. They said there's a likelihood that what is going on in Gaza is genocide. That is why there's an arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. Women are being killed. Old people are being killed. Non-combatants. If you say you're going after military targets or Hamas itself, fine. But to use, have you seen the destruction? The homes that have been razed to the ground. I said that to say this, that this peace that has just been brokered by Donald Trump and his envoy Steve Witkoff is an indictment of Biden. This clearly shows that Biden did not want peace in the Middle East. This shows that Biden was fine with the destruction of Gaza and the complete annihilation of children. Oh, Biden was fine. Now, coming from someone who actually lost a son, Biden lost a child. Coming from, as a parent who has lost a child, he should know the pain. Unless he doesn't think that the Palestinians are equal to him. The people doesn't see them as human beings. After all, we heard officials from Israeli government say that the Palestinians are animals. This is an indictment of Joe Biden and his administration. I saw a report. I can't remember right now the exact publication I saw it in, but the report says that while Anthony Blinken was coming out to say, "Oh, we are looking for peace in the Middle East. We are trying to get a ceasefire," he was actually sabotaging the agreement. This is as per um, people who spoke from the Arab states, like Qatar. They said Anthony Blinken was sabotaging the agreements. He will come out to say we are working on peace, but behind closed doors, he was doing everything possible not to want peace. Now, my question is why? And I think my answer, I saw it in, was it The Hill? Oh my God, there are several publications. You know, when you read, no, I think it was Political. When you read a lot of things, yeah, sometimes this is one thing I'm trying to work on to remember why I read something so that I can give such reference. But one of these United States media outlets, it stated that people from Israel, officials from Israel, were trying to lure or trying to make Biden approve strikes into Iran. It said back in November, here's how it happened. Back in November, officials from the United States, after Trump won, flew to Mar-a-Lago or flew to the United States to convince Trump to agree that there should be strikes inside Iran. Trump refused. Then Anthony Blinken was now trying to get Joe Biden to do it in the final days of his administration. What is this? How can you come out and tell the whole world that you're looking for peace and you're trying to bring a ceasefire, but going back so that they can strike Iran, effectively making the situation in the Middle East worse? Like, what kind? I think Joe Biden's administration, yeah, there's no way to say it. There's no matter how much you want to be nice and say words carefully. There's no way to say it. The Biden administration, to the best of my knowledge, is the most destructive administration of the United States in history. The most destructive. The people who worked hard to ensure the world stayed in a mess, to ensure fire was burning everywhere on the planet, is Biden, Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, all these people. All these people. Like I said before, the United States could, all the children who died, there was no need. The women who were killed, there was no need. Everything that they've been burning since, all the things all the carnage they've been doing in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, is so they can have a war with Iran. That is the reason. It's for a war with Iran, which, make no mistake, would have been the Third World War. Make no mistakes, because it will not just be Israel and Iran. Israel cannot face Iran. It will be United States and Iran. And when United States gets in and Iran is fighting, initially maybe Iran will fight on its own, but after a while, it's going to get support from maybe Russia and China. When Russia and China are facing off United States will now bring its NATO people. Before you know what's happening, the whole world will be in a mess. You may think that your country is far. Maybe you somewhere in Africa, your country is really, really far. Oh, you'll be mistaken. Because we will still feel the because it's a world war, we will feel the economic impact of a world war. This development we are trying to do and help ourselves in Africa, we will put it, I said this before, we will put it on the back seat. Forget development. It's a world war. When it's a world war, everything is destruction. This is what Anthony Blinken was trying to get Joe Biden to do, because Trump refused. At least according to the report, Trump refused. So Anthony Blinken was trying to get Joe Biden to do this thing at the tail end of his administration, days to the end of, or weeks to the end of his administration. When the history books are written, there'll be an indictment of this Biden administration. There'll be an indictment because Trump have just proved, right, before we get into the discussion about what may happen, Trump just proved that at the very least, a ceasefire was possible. United States just didn't want to do it. Biden just didn't want to do it. Anthony Blinken just didn't want to do it. So now, the debates that I'm seeing online is, oh, what is Trump giving? What is Trump giving? I'm going to say, first of all, I want to say that Trump is not a fan. We cannot say that Trump is not a fan of Iran. He's not a fan of the government of Iran. Probably he would likely want to have a regime change operation or something to remove them from power. Trump is not a fan of Hamas, right? But let's not act like this peace agreement is not in United States' interest, because United States up until now has really gotten a bad rap globally on international stage, because every ceasefire discussion that was taking place in the United Nations, United States kept vetoing it. In the UN Security Council, the United States kept vetoing it. They kept vetoing it. So everybody in the world was looking at it like, okay, Israel is committing genocide with the help of the United States. That's how the nations are looking at it. So at least this gives United States, you can manage. Oh, I think the United States has lost it anyway. But you can say, all right, no, 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 we want peace. This, and take like a moral high ground, because the United States lost it. Now, having said that, right? I don't think, if you say okay, maybe Trump has agreed to go to war with Iran. I don't see, if this report, I'm going to look for that report, if this report that I saw in one of these US media outlets is anything to go by, Trump would have given approval for, if he wanted to go to war with Iran, Trump would have given approval for strikes into Iran in November when the Israeli people went to speak with him. But he refused. So maybe Trump does not really want a war. If it's kinetic war, like hot war, Trump is clearly trying to pull away from it. That's why you're hearing him say the things that he's saying with Russia. In fact, yesterday he made mention, and also the Chinese media reported it, that Donald Trump and Xi Jinping had a phone conversation. So this shows you that the United States, at least Trump, does not want a hot war. So what may he be looking at? Maybe, I think he's going to amplify sanctions against Iran. And those sanctions is to make the situation in the country really bad economically, so that it will make to be a fertile ground for the overthrow of the government of Iran. Will it work? I don't know. I don't really think so. Because Iran has been taking on sanctions for how long now? Iran has been taking on sanctions for how long now? It did not overthrow. They didn't see the overthrow of the government. The supreme leader is still very much in power. Right. Iran, another reason why those attacks against Iran may have been very sick, because Iran and Russia just signed a comprehensive agreement which heavily speaks about military. But having said that, so like I said, Donald Trump is going to up economic sanctions against Iran. But I don't think it may be successful, because Iran can always see how Russia was able to successfully circumvent the sanctions and nothing happened to Russia's economy. Russia's economy has continued. In the same way, Iran, because Russia found friends and people who were going to trade with it outside of Europe, right? So Iran may, and remember, Iran is a member of the BRICS. So Iran may now decide to focus its trade with the BRICS. So let's see how it goes. I'm not so sure how successful these sanctions will be, but sanctions better than World War Three. Sanctions better than World War Three, because World War Three could lead to nuclear war. Because remember, United States is a nuclear force. Israel has nuclear weapons. They may act like, oh no, no, they don't, but they have the nuclear. I think it's called. Is it the Solomon, the something something? In the instance that if Israel sees it is going to face a defeat, Israel will just nuke everything and say, okay, fine. If we don't exist, nobody should exist. It's the something something. I forgot it, but I know something is in it. So if we allow a World War Three take place, and it looks like, oh, Iran is getting the upper hand over Israel, who says Israel may not use nukes? Let's not forget that the people who may be backing Iran in this, hopefully we never see it, in this scenario are Russia, China, that have nuclear weapons. So better sanctions than World War Three and nuclear war. Better sanctions. Another thing that people are saying that Israel could get if it follows through with this whole ceasefire something is Donald Trump get insisting that Saudi Arabia recognizes the state of Israel. I think Donald Trump is also going to follow this policy, because it was in his first policy under the Abraham Accords. Now I have an issue with the Abraham Accords, because the Abraham Accords was looking for peace and did not want to mention the issue of Palestine. That's the problem I have with the Abraham Accords, right? But better, and I think that Donald Trump is likely going to get it before the end of his four-year term. He's going to have Saudi Arabia is going to recognize the state of Israel. It's going to happen. But what Saudi Arabia is going to demand from that, I don't understand. Because back then, when they had the Abraham Accords and Saudi Arabia would have recognized the state of Israel, that was before this carnage that we have seen in the Middle East. Now that post October 7th and Israel has gone on this mass slaughter that a lot of people are calling a genocide, now that we're in this situation, the population in many of these Arab countries, especially even Saudi Arabia, the population it has reignited their stand against Israel. So I want to see what the Saudis will demand. And I think Donald Trump is going to get recognition of Israel from Saudi Arabia, who will get it. But I want to see what the Saudis would demand in return, because they have to pacify their population. They have to pacify their population and say, okay, this recognizing Israel, this thing we are getting from the Americans and Israelis is really worth recognizing Israel. So maybe now I don't know, but I'm thinking, is that going to be the state of Palestine? Maybe Saudi Arabia is going to insist that there is a state, and not all this rhetoric we've been hearing for a very long time. People like Anthony Blinken will come out and say, yeah, 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 we believe in the two-state solution. But at the back door, according to reports, at the back door, they're working to what's the word? They're working to suffocate peace agreements and ceasefire. So I don't know. Maybe let's see what happens. And then the third thing is, because Donald Trump's campaign and his re-entry to the White House, this is Trump 2.0, was very possible with a lot of money from Marian Anderson. Now she is pro-Israel, and she was one of the people that Donald Trump, according to report, Donald Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem because she wanted it. She and her husband wanted it, but her husband is dead now. So she has been clamoring for building settlements, for Israel to annex the West Bank and build illegal settlements in the West Bank. For that one, I really don't have any say. I don't know how it's going to pan out. But the two that I can speak on is Iran. Trump does not want war with Iran. If he wanted war with Iran, he would have agreed for strikes into Iran back in November. He did not. So Trump's position with Iran is going to be sanctions. The second thing I can speak on, based on the things that I have been saying, is that before the end of Trump's second term, I am 80% sure that Saudi Arabia is going to recognize Israel. The question is, what is Saudi Arabia going to demand from the Americans and the Israelis as a result of that? So while we're all discussing all these things, it seems like Netanyahu's administration is breaking apart, because his coalition partners, Smodrick and Ben-Gvir and all those people, they are saying no. In fact, when people are saying, because I've seen a lot of people who are saying that, oh, that Trump worked this with Netanyahu so that Netanyahu can give Trump a win. I don't think so. Let me tell you why I don't think so. Because if you follow Israeli media, And you see the way these hardliners in Israel are discussing, even the protests that were going on in Israel, it doesn't seem that Netanyahu blessed this ceasefire agreement. He did not want it. I don't think the Netanyahu and his government wanted it. So this is really Trump forcing them to a deal, in my opinion, right? Because if you read Israeli news outlet, you're seeing a lot of Israelis are upset. Smodrick is complaining. Ben Gvir is complaining. Even Netanyahu, before they finally signed the agreement yesterday, yeah, I think it was yesterday, he was even trying to stall and sabotage the whole thing. So these people are not happy about it. It seems like Donald Trump is forcing them to do this. So that's why I don't think it was planned. I may be wrong. I may be very, very wrong, but I don't think it was planned. Even some hardliners in Israel, Netanyahu included, and some other um, people, some other political commentators in United States, I don't want to mention their names, they are saying, oh, it's just going to be the first part of the agreement that they're going to do. The other parts of the agreement, they're not going to do it, right? So because these people are looking for war, they like the fact that they're killing children in Gaza. So, well, now the second part of the agreement is where Israel will have to withdraw from the Philadelphia corridor, which is between Gaza and Egypt. They are saying they are not going to do that part. They're only going to do the first part, which is the hostage exchange. Let's see how it goes. But I really hope that this is the beginning of the end of what we have seen in Gaza. Because at the end of the day, while all this politics is playing out, and some people wanting to go to war with Iran, some people wanting to posture as if they're tough, whatever all the situation may be, at the end of the day, it's the people of Gaza that are bearing the brunt. They are the ones who are suffering. And I really hope, I really do hope that this ceasefire agreement lasts. But let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Will it last? Will it not last? And what do you think with all these people within the Netanyahu administration, his government, they are threatening to leave if this ceasefire agreement is fully enacted? Share your thoughts with me in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with your family, your friends, everybody, so that we can amplify Africa's voice in global conversations. And if you want to support the work that I'm doing here, feel free to use the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, and it's also on the screen.